Greetings, Earthians. It is time once again to turn your mental energies toward the infinity of the speed of thought. Travel beyond the edge of the known into the realm of weird science fantasy. The shaggy-haired savage chief stood beside the dying fire, shivering in the chill night breeze that swept across the clearing from the dense overgrowth beyond. He listened, for a moment, to the heavy breathing that drifted from the crude cave shelters dug into the rubble piles wherein his tribal subjects slept fitfully. And then he stared into the star-studded night sky overhead, and a look of fear crossed his hairy face, and a cry of dismay escaped from his quivering lips. The others, awakened from their slumber by his anguished shout, poured from their caves and gathered about him, frightened, as he pointed a nervous hand at the tiny finger of flame shooting across the heavens. For a moment, the savages stood in silent, terrorized awe and wonderment, staring at the red needle of flame plummeting toward them. Then, with grunts of fear and anger, they scurried about, snatching up their crude weapons. And as the savage chief stood defiantly, waiting for the heavenly fire to swoop downward and destroy him and his whimpering subjects, his thoughts drifted back to his childhood, and to his father who had been the tribal chief before him, and to his father's grave warning.
"Venture not across the rushing river to the ruins, my son. Only death awaits you there. Remember."
"I will remember, father." The savage chief looked skyward, shivering, remembering how he'd disregarded his father's warning. He remembered one day fashioning a boat by hollowing out a fallen tree trunk, and pushing the hollowed log into the rushing river, striking out for the opposite shore, and watching the ruins loom up like gray monsters crouching among the vine growths as he neared. He remembered how his young heart had pounded in his chest as he'd stepped from his crude boat into the awful silence that hung thick over the gray skeleton ruins. And he remembered how he'd waited for the death that his father had warned him of, to come and strike him down, and how his fears had slowly vanished and his boyhood curiosity had urged him onward, into the viney overgrowth, urged him to explore the mysterious ruins. And the whitened, picked-clean bones he'd found, and the grinning skulls he'd shrunk from as he'd probed about. How he'd traveled eastward into the rising sun, through the rows and rows of shell-like, gutted ruins until he reached another and more placid river. He remembered, towards sunset, finally recrossing the river back to his tribal camp at the foot of the towering cliffs, and seeing his father waiting with folded arms and fiery eyes on the shore.
"Where have you been?"
"I have crossed the river, father. I have explored the mysterious ruins, and yet I still live." He remembered how his father had screamed at him.
"You will die. It is inevitable. You will see. Many years ago, my father, your grandfather, crossed the rushing river. And when he returned, he died soon after."
"Father, it is a good place. Much game abounds, and there are rock piles into which we may dig caves."
"My father grew weaker each day after his return. Sores appeared upon his body. Ugly sores that festered and oozed, and then within a month, he was dead."
"The foliage is strong and wild. The soil is good."
"The ruins are cursed. Long ago they glowed in an evil green light, but that light faded and my father thought it was safe.
Take the tribe there, father. This land is hunted out, and the soil is fallow.
No! The ruins are death. Sit down, my son. It is time you learned the tribal legend that has passed on from chief to chief through the generations.
Legend, father? He remembered how a terrible light had come into his father's eyes.
Many eons ago, our tribe and many other tribes lived there, across the rushing river, in those ruins. But then one day a great evil came and destroyed everything.
A great evil, father?
A great fire that screamed downward from the heavens and consumed everything in one huge roaring inferno. Only a handful escaped across the rushing river.
But the fire is gone, father. That was eons ago. The green glow is gone. We can go back now. And he remembered his father's grim admonition.
I say no. I say we stay here. When I am dead and you are chief, you can lead them to their destruction. Not I.
The tribal chief shuddered. The great flame in the sky was very bright now, and he could even hear the screaming, faintly. He remembered how he'd knelt beside his dying father.
You will be chief now, son.
Yes, father.
Do not take the tribe across the river, son. The screaming fire, the roaring inferno will destroy you all.
I did not die, father, and I went.
Perhaps because you were not chief. Perhaps only the chief.
He is dead. And I am tribal chief. He remembered how, after the burial of his father, he'd given the orders. Chop down the trees, hollow out the trunks. We are going to cross the rushing river. We are going to live in the ruins. And he remembered how the tribe had migrated from the cliff base camp across the rushing river to the ruins. Many eons ago, our ancestors lived here. We will call this place what they called it. The screaming became a roar and the flame grew brighter, and suddenly the chief could see the silver monster that was spitting the flame. And he fell upon his knees, and his tribal subjects fell upon their knees. And the monster came down, and the flame faded, and the roaring stopped. And then the creatures came from within the silver monster's belly, climbing down its side. Easy, boys. They look pretty savage. They're scared stiff of us. Don't worry. The creatures in their weird suits and their transparent helmets. Lower the automatic translator. If these savages converse orally, we can speak with them. Right. Clean-shaven creatures with strange machines that barked words in the tribe's own language. We come in peace. Do not be afraid. Who is your leader? The savage chief edged forward. I am the chief. Who are you? We come from another world. We come to help you. To help develop this planet. Develop? I do not understand. It's no use trying to explain to them, Captain. They don't have the mentality. Yes, you're right. Look. Get that stuff from the ship. One of the clean-shaven creatures scurried up the ship's side as the one called Captain continued. We want to buy this land. Buy? The one that had left returned, carrying an armful of things. Yes, buy. I give you these things, you give me this land. We trade. You get this, I get land.
Trade. Yes. Yes, we'll trade.
The savage chief nodded eagerly. Then it's a deal.
It is a deal, as you call it.
And snatched the things from the creature's hands.
Come, we must leave. We have traded the ruins for these.
Wait, no hurry.
The tribe scurried down the shore and pushed the hollowed tree boats out into rushing river.
You can stay till we get back. We have to return to our world for supplies.
The ruins are yours.
We call them...
The chief's voice drifted across the rushing river as the tribal fleet headed for the opposite cliffed shore. What did he say?
I think it was the name of the place.
The captain turned to the ship.
Well, they were right, our scientists back home. Hear that Geiger counter?
Yep, definite radioactivity.
The spacemen climbed into their ship. They calculate it took place about 200 years ago.
Must have been some war.
The captain nodded out the port at the specks fading across the rushing river. They're what's left, descendants of the survivors, just savages.
What do you think we'll do with them when we start colonizing?
Push them westward, I guess. Put them on reservations after a while.
The captain smiled as he sat down at the controls.
Pretty stupid selling a hunk of land that size for a handful of beads and some old blankets.
Yeah, at least we gained their confidence. That's a start.
The ship leaped into the night, headed for home, headed for the distant planet of the distant solar system of the distant star from whence it had come. Later, we'll just drive them off the land. Even kill them for it.
What did the chief say was the name of that place we bought, Captain?
I think he said his ancestors before the Screaming Fire, whatever that means, called it Manhattan Island. Once again, we return you to your pre-scheduled mundanity.